First of all, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the many lands on which we're meeting today, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. This webinar is designed uh, with the chat function on Zoom enabled. So for those using a screen reader, you use keystroke Alt H to bring up the chat window, then type your question in. This webinar is designed to be interactive. I'd love to get your questions and throw them at Jo, our guest at this time. To give you a bit of a short spiel on Jo, she's a multifaceted educator, community builder, advocate for accessibility, with an extensive career in the educational sector. Spanning 30 years, Jo brings a wealth of leadership experience and awareness to her mission of creating a more inclusive and supportive world. Since leaving the education sector, Jo's tireless efforts include organising the inaugural screening of The Blind Sea and the Disability Expo, a fundraising awareness initiative on the Fraser Coast, founding the region's low vision and blind community group, establishing Live Well with Vision Loss not-for-profit, and creating safety and awareness products for people who are blind or have low vision. Jo Cabot, thank you so much for joining us chat today.
Thank you so much for having me here and to be number one for this fabulous winter webinar series.
Yeah, well, look, we'll jump straight in. Obviously, you're joining us from Hervey Bay, which I understand. Is it nice weather in Hervey Bay today? Is it?
Should I talk about this? It might really upset some people. It's actually gorgeous. It's
No,
really
no, it's not
gorgeous.
upsetting anybody. Not upsetting anybody. So obviously, I've briefed you. The topic of this webinar is about people that are doing their part in their communities, making the world a more inclusive space for all. Uh, I can say, based on obviously what I've just read out and having a bit of a knowledge of yourself, that it's fairly evident that you have a huge part to play in your local community, and nationally doing just that. In your opinion, how much does your lived experience of sight loss kind of factor into, those people of importance listening to what you may have to say on the topic?
100%. So it's the very reason why I'm doing something. And for me, I had my vision loss journey mostly alone. I mean, it's only a few years ago when I first started cane training with Vision Australia that I actually met other people with severe vision loss. So the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because of that lived experience and my desire to give back and help other people because nobody should need to do this journey by themselves.
So with that in mind, can you tell us a little bit about your sight loss journey?
Yeah, so mine is all my life. So I'm 55 now. It began when I was born. Basically, I was diagnosed by the time I was around 2 or 3 with high myopia. So myopia itself is something that didn't seem to happen. I was just very high myopia, and my vision quickly declined. Over my teenage years, I did wear the Coke bottle glasses back in those days. There wasn't much of a choice. And I must say, they are thick. I was one of the youngest in Australia to ever wear contact lenses. And thank goodness for those, because they gave me the opportunity to live a normal life, to play sports and, do the things that I wanted to do without the weight and the discomfort of those glasses. I was told as a young child that at some stage I might lose more vision. It was always presented as being later in life.
Right.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So by the time I was in my 20s, I actually had some surgery. That was to try and correct the vision and just give me the best opportunity to see a little bit better. So I had lens implants, laser surgery, a whole bunch of different things. And I did have better vision for a while, but it didn't last.
Yeah.
And the central vision of my left eye, that retina actually cracked in my mid 20s and I lost the vision. And then from there, the myopic macular degeneration came into play, including glaucoma.
Okay. Okay. So, far as your own sort of schooling experience went, as you said, your vision kind of deteriorated over time. Was school an inclusive experience for you, or was it obviously the glasses are quite the fashion accessory, I imagine, but Was it something that you felt comfortable in school? Was it something that you got a lot of support with? Did you
Mm.
feel as part of the crew?
Absolutely. My vision loss was everything I knew. So I didn't think any different. I didn't really think I was different. Probably more the red hair and the freckles got attention than anything else. And by the time I was at school, I was wearing contact lenses.
Ah,
So mum, mum was the poor person who had to put those in. And the majority of the time, that's what I wore. So I had a great education and played sport and did everything. I never thought that vision loss was going to hold me back in
yeah,
any way. So I did everything. And I feel really blessed too because my parents, they made the effort. And I know Matt Formston, in chatting to him, his were the same. They just pushed you into everything.
yeah.
So I was just the same as my brother. And I was able to enjoy a normal, active childhood.
Did you did your parents ever sort of speak to you about their concerns? Obviously, you went through mainstream schooling. Your parents made that decision, I imagine. Did they
Yes.
ever speak to you about, having a couple of sleepless nights deciding whether that should or shouldn't happen, or whether they should look at other options or anything like that?
No, they didn't, because for me it was high myopia at that stage. It was quite advanced, but the school was the one that my brother had attended. So they were very aware of the teachers and the system, and it was close by. And I already had friends in that locality.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a natural choice and similar going to high school. Occasionally, they would be worried, as my doctors were, like with I was I was in love with horse riding, roller skating, ice skating, things like this. And of course, there was always in the background that worry that if I had a fall, but they still let me do it and I loved it. And occasionally I fell, but it didn't injure my eyes any further. So.
Amazing. Um, Obviously, I was a bit of a tearaway as a kid, so whenever I speak to teachers and I ask them about their own schooling, they usually had a positive experience in school. Um, what made you want to get into teaching? Because as I said,
Okay.
if I'd had me as a teacher, I think I would have chosen a different career path, put it that way.
The career path, there were two others that I would have preferred. And the first one was acting.
Right.
So, as a child, I did a lot of singing, particularly dancing. I did ballet and tap and was quite a theatrical, dramatic sort of child. I'm sure mum and dad would agree to that, and my brother. So, acting was actually my passion, but I did heed to my parents' concerns. And because I performed on local television and radio with ads and on the stage as well quite a lot and competed in a stead feds, I had acting friends who were unemployed and that was a concern.
Yeah.
The second one was speech pathology, but I had to go to another state to do that. And whilst I was outgoing, I was still a little bit shy about doing something like that and leaving everything behind at that stage. And then came education, which was offered at the university where we lived. And I kind of felt that education was a bit of play. It was a bit like acting. And I realized because my cousins had children and I had second cousins that I quite enjoyed interacting with the kids and just having a lot of fun. Basically, it brought out my own childhood all over again. So that's why I selected education.
Yeah, right. So can I just ask in regards to, when you entered the educational sector, I often ask the question around when you entered the education, well, when you entered any career path and when you left that career path, what were the main differences that come along with that? Um, Entering the educational sector, and obviously I'm quite aware that there is quite a substantial sort of unemployment rate and things like that amongst people with blind or low vision. Did you find the educational sector was like an inclusive space?
I did, as far as my vision impairment goes. At that time, sadly, I studied primary teaching. And that's the age group I really enjoyed. And I majored in sports and nutrition, which were other passions as well. I felt included completely. I didn't find any concern with that. And with the aids that I had, I was, able to get away with things as well. I had an incredible memory, I must say. um, but probably the biggest concern that I felt is that there weren't many jobs. Out of those of us that graduated, I think around 7 out of 76 were employed immediately.
Yeah.
The rest of us either found other career sectors to move into or worked on a casual basis, which is what I did as a primary teacher for a number of years. And the biggest concern I felt were actually the older teachers at the time. A lot of them weren't accepting of the new way of teaching, all of the new methods. Yeah, so that was a little bit hard, and I didn't find it overly welcoming at some of the schools that I was working at.
Yeah, okay. Okay. And I imagine it probably helped you build a bit of resilience as well as you moved around with your, and I won't dwell too much on this because I want to get on to all of the other things that you've achieved in your life. But with the sight loss over time that it deteriorated, did it deteriorate? You said it deteriorated in your 20s. Were you teaching at that particular point in time, or were you studying still?
Mm. I was teaching and I was managing at that time. So I think the biggest decline was probably in my teenage years.
Yeah.
And then I had the surgery, and that gave me a little bit of better vision. But unfortunately, not long after, a couple of years after, that's when the retina cracked. One of the things that I did feel a lot of pressure about was my left eye was suddenly so much worse than my right.
Right.
So I did suffer from a lot of headaches and eye strain because of the work that the right had to undertake by itself, really.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's just a curious thing. So you're obviously you're in the education sector for quite some time. How long were you in the education sector for?
Yeah, if I add it all up together, it was approximately 30 years with a little stint in hospitality when I found casual work. I was living on the Gold Coast at that point, and casual work in teaching was really erratic. You would have 1 week, and then you might have a month with very little. So I actually started working in five-star hotels,
Yeah.
and that was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
Oh,
done
yeah.
my
It
spell as well. It is great. Yeah.
I think it's really good for confidence building and customer service as well. So it definitely added to my teaching skill set. But I did want to get back into it again. And at that stage, there still weren't many primary teaching full time positions available. And I heard about the rise of international English language teaching. So that is what I was drawn to because I grew up in a motel. So I loved having visitors, and we had people from all around the world. And mum and dad would always call my brother and I out, and we'd have a chat with these people and try a bit of our French and German. It wasn't good, I could tell you. But teaching international English, that's the main sector I stayed in. And I worked in a vast range of jobs across the country and absolutely loved it. It was fantastic.
Was that kind of like a awakening to moving out of your comfort zone a little bit? Because you said that you'd gone to school on was it the Fraser Coast that you went to school?
No, no. I went to school in Wagga.
Okay.
So I'm a New South Wales child. I was born in Junee, went to school, grew up in Wagga. That's where my parents owned a motel. And I didn't move to Queensland until I graduated from university.
Okay. Okay. So obviously moving around the country doing different things, or doing teaching predominantly. Did that involve some international as well, international travel around the place as well?
I did travel overseas because I made friends from like everywhere. So you
Yeah.
can imagine it. You're in your early 30s. Some of the students are the same age as you. And I just had friends everywhere. So, in between teaching English to the international students, I also managed the International Student Activities Club, where we would take them to Brisbane, the Sunshine Coast, Dream World, Movie World, to see koalas, of course.
Of course.
It was A lot of fun. So it did take me internationally. I didn't go for international work. However, I tutored pretty much wherever I went.
Yeah, so getting on to the topic of the inclusive spaces that you help create in your current calling, what sort of places did you travel to, and what some of the things that you took away from those places in the inclusion space?
Mm, mm. So I think one of my first travels was to Brazil because I really connected with the Brazilian students that I had. And I was a house mum as well. So I had a few as homestay. So I traveled to Brazil and decided to do Machu Picchu beforehand. And this was actually after my retina cracked because I started to really have the reality check that I didn't know how long my vision might last.
Yeah,
And one of the things that I really noticed over there is people were so inclusive. They were absolutely lovely. I was invited to people's homes. It was just beautiful. And I traveled a lot by myself as well. One of the things I found challenging in those environments, though, was the infrastructure. So I often tripped downstairs. I didn't have a long cane at that stage, and climbing Machu Picchu was also challenging at points, not from the physical point, because I was incredibly fit, but due to my vision loss, and I didn't really expect that.
yeah, right. And like as far as positive experiences overseas, was there anything that you looked at that you thought, you know what, that would be amazing if we had that in Australia?
Not at that stage because I was in my 20s at that stage, and I think I was just on a high about traveling.
Yeah.
I went to Everest region and trekked over there. The positive I got out of that was I didn't have a log cane, and people weren't aware
Right.
of my vision impairment. So I decided recently that I was going to create clothing and badges that would actually, when you're in those situations, educate people that, hey, I'm actually being a little bit more careful and slower than some of you, hiking through the Everest region because I have a vision impairment. So it's clothing that has very clearly on the back, I have low vision. On my hat, I have low vision. And yes, some people might find that a bit confronting. Perfect for those situations, I can tell you, because it doesn't matter what the language is. If you put a little eye in front of that, people take notice.
Yeah, amazing. That's really interesting advice, especially from somebody who's traveled around a bit. So you've obviously gone from the educational sector through to what I would deem to be activist, not-for-profit sort of space. Those really aren't what I would call linear paths. What made you decide to do that?
I think as an educator, because I had so many roles in education, including leadership and marketing and promotional work, is that it was a natural segue
Oh, it
when I
was.
look back at
Okay.
it. Because as a teacher, you're always advocating for your students.
Yeah.
You're always advocating for the best resources.
Right.
So, and I did a lot of student support work too. So I think it was quite natural. And with the collection of skills that I had from event management, hospitality, leadership, it all built into this beautiful package that made me feel confident and capable in undertaking advocacy work.
So what was your entry level into advocacy? Like what was the first thing that you decided to put your name and presence to?
Okay, I think the first real big thing for me, because there were lots of little things along the way where you weren't even aware that
Yeah.
you were actually, intentionally doing that. I think the first big thing was the blind see. And this was quite an incredible journey because it evolved as I was going along. So I'd heard about Matt Formston's movie. I knew about his book. I've actually got a fabulous copy of his book here, which I'd seen in Vision Australia. And then I heard that the movie actually wasn't coming to the Fraser Coast. And that was incredibly disappointing because we have quite a large population of low vision and blind, including vision impaired, because it's quite an elderly population here as well. So I felt really sad about that. And I made a comment when I saw one of the Blind Sea posts. And the response that I got back is, hey, Joe, if you want this to happen on the Fraser Coast, we can work together and make it happen. And I was like, game on. Let's do this. And from there, I worked very closely with JP, who was involved, Jonathan Page, involved in promoting the movie. We tried to get it into cinemas. There was a no for that. Our cinema here, the main one, tends to be more mainstream, and the other one is quite small. And I thought, no, I really want to utilize this as a community awareness and engagement opportunity. Let's start talking about low vision, particularly getting to know the elderly crew here. Some of them are super confident with their vision loss, and some of them aren't. So, yeah, so I probably took about 3 months altogether to find a venue, which was a lot of work, but JP kept on pushing me along. And eventually I had a grant from the local RSL, not only to host the movie there, they were quite happy to produce some badges. I had an idea to create some beautiful little badges for our low vision and blind community. And these ones say, hi, I'm blind. Please introduce yourself with a smiley face. So they paid for those for all the low vision and blind attendees that came along. And then I thought, you know what would top this off? If we could get Matt Formston to actually come. And I thought, this is going to be impossible, but I'm going to try. I reached out to the Fraser Coast Council and they said, sure, we'll pay for Matt to attend and we'll fly him up. And this was like a dream coming true, literally. So from there, I just can't help myself. I thought, let's add to this. I know a number of people in the disability sector, disability services that really cater very well for people with low vision and blindness. Let's have a mini disability expo. And that was the event. So we watched the Blind Sea at the RSL. The mayor welcomed Matt to the Fraser Coast, which was just fabulous. He even participated in some of the blindfolded games that Matt and I put on, because we really did want to get people that were sighted involved and give them a feel of what it's like to live life with low vision. And we had the Disability Expo, and we had so many people offer things to raffle off to fundraise even further. It was an incredibly humbling experience, and one that I didn't expect, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, and it sounds like it built and built and built and built. Did
Mm,
you feel like going into that sort of thing? Obviously, you said that you'd had a bit of background in project management and things like
yeah.
that. Did you feel like when you started that project that it would get to where it was, or was there this inclination that you were going to have to potentially bash your head against a wall a little bit with your local community?
Mm. I think the bashing my head against the wall was with trying to get the venue.
Yeah.
Once I had that venue, I was off and running. And I really trust myself, because in the workplace, that's how I often evolved. And ideas would just come naturally. Oh, why not do this? Why not give it a try? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Maybe that's something I'll do in the future. But this one I felt was meant to be, and everything just flowed.
Yeah. And look, having a bit of knowledge around, activists and sometimes certain activists can give the rest of them a bad name. You've got a fantastic way of approaching this in a rather positive fashion. I would say, the fact that you've traveled around a bit's made you quite worldly in that way. Do you find that having these sort of sensitive topics, do you find that they're usually a positive, or have you had instances where they haven't been as positive?
I think for me, it's been fairly positive. And that's partly because of, with my teaching and my travels and all of my background, I've developed this approach. And I I always put myself in someone else's shoes. That's what worked for me. I was dealing with students that were going through culture shock. And I think it's my lived experience through my life and not wanting to upset people. And I think it's not what you say, it's how you say it as well.
So we do have a question, and I will get to that. But I just wanted to ask one other question, kind of segues in. What sort of advice could you give other people that are looking to do something in their own local communities around self-advocating or maybe putting on something to make, as you said, people in the community more welcoming of everyone?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing is whatever you get involved with in advocating needs to be something that you are passionate about, that you feel very strongly and you believe in, because then people listen. I noticed with my work by actually going into places face to face, that made an incredible difference because they got to hear me, see me. They could tell that I was trying to do the right thing and really make a difference in the community. So, those are definitely some of the key things. I did make a couple of notes of other things. Research and talk to your community. So, prior to doing the Blind Sea filming and Mini Disability Expo, I'd actually already met with, we have two low vision and blind community groups here. So I spoke to them. I found out what were some of their concerns. And really having your community on board, I think makes a big difference because you are creating that awareness for them and to make their lived experience much better. So definitely some research and staying up to date on some of the common concerns as well. Volunteering is also a good idea because if you put yourself in that experience, you are going to learn so much more about how it's all going to work. So, definitely volunteering. Um, Connecting with the blind citizens of Australia. I think if you are here in Australia, the advocacy work that they do is phenomenal. They've influenced so many things, such as our traffic lights beeping. So, this is a strong advocacy group for people with low vision and blindness. Find out who yours is in your locality because they're accustomed to doing all sorts of things and they will support you right through that process. And the other thing is expect critics. There's always going to be somebody who comes in with the hard, uncomfortable questions, and that's okay. That's a great learning experience. Maybe they raise something that you hadn't thought of.
Great advice. We have a question here from Christy, who's joining us from Tasmania. She wanted to know, and you may not have this on hand, but she wanted to know, are you able to watch The Blind Sea online? Well, I can answer that. It's on Netflix, and you can look up The Blind Sea on Google, and it will take you through to that website where you can view it. But she's interested in potentially promoting it there in Tasmania. Is there people that she could get in contact with that you're aware of to sort of make that happen?
I think the first people to get in contact with is your local council. So councils are given funds to, support initiatives. I was really lucky when I first contacted the council. Somebody said, "You're probably going to have some support here because our mayor really likes to promote disability awareness." So reach out to the council and see if there's any funding, or perhaps their events coordinator might want to help you find a location and help you with the whole process. And they'll also advertise it for you as well. So definitely the council. And if you have an RSL or any other organisations who donate to the community on a regular basis, tap into them because then you can make it into something even bigger than better than you could ever imagine.
Great question and great answer. So we've reached the halfway point of our webinar here. So if you'd like to ask a question, much like Christy has just done now, and you are using a screen reader, just a reminder that you can use keystroke Alt H to bring up the chat window, and then you can type your question in so I can pitch it to Joe. Yeah, we'll get in as many questions as we possibly can because her time is very valuable. So any questions you have, chuck those in there. I'd love to direct them towards Joe. You kind of already spoke a little bit about the research that you undertook um, in order to prepare for, this particular sort of awareness campaign on the Fraser Coast. Do you feel like the Fraser Coast was already a little bit receptive of people with blindness or low vision, or was this really kind of flashing a huge torchlight on that community?
I think it was flashing a torchlight, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And this was one of the reasons that I wanted to do it because since I've been on the Fraser Coast, I've learnt to use the long cane, and I've been quite surprised at how people haven't noticed it. And I've had people walk into me. I mean, I literally had three at once going to the local post office. So
Right.
whether they're on their mobile phone or they're just distracted. I just felt that we needed to create a little bit more awareness and have this as a talking point, which is also one of the reasons for the Blind Sea. I reached out to the local media, and we had both Channel 7 and Channel 9 interview Matt and attend the activity too.
Yeah. And do you feel like with this Disability Expo, do you feel like it's improved things? How receptive was the community in hearing what you had to say?
I think the disability expos, they happen a lot. This one was particularly focused on supports that could assist people with low vision and blindness. So, for example, I had team rehab there, and I utilized team rehab for my own exercise physiotherapy. And I wanted to, probably with the Disability Expo, give ideas to some of the other low vision and blind community. There were people there that don't attend the local meetings. They're living this life quite alone, and fantastic that they attended. So I wanted to give them the feel of you could actually look at exercise physio. I did it because my arm was aching from using the cane for long periods of time. So I needed to build up my muscles. My balance was also impacted by my vision. So I think, yes, I think it was worth bringing this to the to everybody's attention. But we still need to keep on working on it. It's something that we need to keep at the forefront.
Yeah, and that kind of provides me a bit of a segue. Having known quite a few community activists, that often something like this is usually gets to bigger than what they anticipate, but it's never it's never a last step on the journey. There's always, oh, this can lead to that, and this is what we really need to work on now. What are some of your goals and milestones that you want to push towards now that you've had this successful event?
Okay, so within a week of having the event, I thought I'd have a little break, but I just couldn't help myself. And I think, that the fire was hot. So I
Yeah.
had to seize the moment. And I think with advocacy work, that's what it's all about. So one of the people who sponsored a dinner for the Blind Sea as one of the fundraising items owns a fantastic restaurant here in Harvey Bay. It's called Time at the Vineyard, and it's just beautiful in the most perfect location with views of the Urangan Pier. She was sensational to talk to prior to that. And I'd always had in the back of my mind that I'd love to do a dinner in the dark. So within a week, we met and we set the date. And it's actually happening July the 25th, and it's nearly sold out. That's the next big event, but I've got so many more things that I want to do, both with Live Well with Vision Loss, which is the not for profit, as well as with my company arm, which is the Vision Loss Mentor.
Right. Okay.
Mm. So I've got lots of ideas. I can't help myself, but there's so much that you can do, I think.
And you kind of spoke a little bit about the striking while it's hot sort of thing. Do
Mm.
you feel like a lot of this has come very, very quickly? Like, are you prepped for expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of my life experience, my lived experience with vision loss, my ability to network and leadership experience has brought me to this point, and I'm just riding this wave. It's I'm completely happy and comfortable and confident. And I know there's going to be some challenges along the way, but that's life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So speaking about your individual community and the impact that that can have, obviously these sort of events, have you noticed in your community as a result of the community building efforts, have you heard from people in council that maybe want to have a bit more of a chat? Have you had, has it been a positive thing? Or are you feeling like, is there something to grapple with as well? Have you upset the apple cart a bit with anyone?
Mm. I don't think I've upset the apple cart at all. And I'm really delighted at how many people have made contact with me. I'm on social media, and I mentioned that at the event and with all of the advertisement, and so did Channel 7 and Channel 9. So I've had a number of people reach out to my Live Well with Vision Loss Instagram and Facebook page and say thank you because they are either experiencing vision loss or they had no idea of what the vision loss journey was like as well. So it's been very positive in that way. And I've also had a number of people really responsive as I've been out and about in the community. It kind of makes me a little bit sad with my particular condition. I don't have central vision, so I can't really see faces, but I try to remember voices and the silhouettes, etc. But it's been really lovely, and I feel it's a good springboard for undertaking further activities. And recently, I actually reached out to the council because, to be honest, I'd like to do something to advocate for all disabled people, as well as low vision and blindness. And I've been thinking about this for some time because I do know some people in wheelchairs who struggle out in the community with being recognised in their wheelchair as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I did reach out to the council and propose an idea for the International Day for People with Disabilities, which is December 3rd, that we have a public event. And this one would be less of an expo, but more of a celebration of abilities.
Right. Got it.
And we invite the disabled community in. We've got a huge disabled community in this population and region, and I'd love to do something special. There are ones that are artists, musicians, dancers, ones that are just really making a difference in their community and undertaking advocacy work like myself. So that's my recent proposal. They're putting it to their disability what would you call it? Disability Forum
Yeah.
early this month. So I'm just waiting to hear if it's going to be accepted.
Yeah, right. Exciting times.
Mm.
Look, we have it's another question from Christy inviting you to go down to Burnie in Tasmania to do the Disability Expo there, to give them some ideas. So,
Mm.
as you said, your community often grows, but you are essentially, am I correct in saying you are the face and voice of your not-for-profit at the moment? Do you have a team behind you, or is it Team Joe?
I'm their face and voice. I have an amazing team. The directors, three of them are sighted, and actually, one of them who is sighted just had a vision scare.
Right.
And that was fabulous because she tapped into me and said, Joe, what's going on? What do I do? Etc. So it was really lovely to be able to share with somebody, do this, etc., contact these people. So three are sighted, and the other three either have low vision or blindness. And they're incredible. We meet regularly, we share ideas, bounce things off each other. And I think everybody feels united in wanting to make a difference.
So, um, you've spoken a little bit, or you've spoken quite a lot about the Live Well with Vision Loss not-for-profit. Um, for people that may not be aware of what it is in its entirety. Do you want to give us a bit of a what they call an elevator pitch on what it is that made you establish it, and what it is that it's essentially, well, what are its main goals?
Okay, yes, sure. So basically, it began with the Blind Sea because I was aware that there are a number of people who couldn't get the NDIS support. It's a lot harder to get onto NDIS now compared to when I did about 3 years ago. There are people in aged care who are getting some support, but not enough to really assist them. And I feel that there's a lot of people in our communities who are experiencing hardship, and the resources, the education, the funding is not there for them. Also, for us here on the Fraser Coast, Vision Australia, guide dogs, they visit our region, but they aren't established here. So, if we can support each other and spread that awareness and help each other with information and resources, then that's really going to make a difference. I think in the future, perhaps both of them will be here because it's such a growing community. But in the interim, establishing the Facebook page to bring everybody together where we can share and yeah, support each other with our vision loss journey, I think was such an important one. So the Live Well with Vision Loss not for profit is something I've organised. I have the ABN. We're actually looking to move this into a charity as well because we'd love to take it to regional locations Australia wide. So, yes to Bernie, happy to come down there. I would love to get involved because I think we need to share this journey and share the support in our communities. It is not something that I ever saw. Yes, I might be the figurehead at the moment, but I think it's something that is best achieved if we all unite on this journey. So, it's about really supporting people in hardship.
It's a fair point. And how much emphasis do you place on sort of rubbing shoulders with decision makers and like other like-minded people to yourself? Like what's some of the things that you feel like you've learnt on this journey of yours?
Mm, I don't chase it. I think it naturally evolves. I think when you have found your passion and your pathway, then the doors are naturally open. Having worked in marketing and educational promotions, I'm accustomed to contacting the local council and reaching out to organisations. I feel quite comfortable with doing that, and I think that that's really going to help whatever cause you have. So, and then with other opportunities, like I recently met Molly Burke, who is one of the leading disability advocates in the world on the plane coming from Brisbane here to Hervey Bay. I saw this cane going past me, and I heard that she was in Australia and she was going to be traveling to Gari for a holiday, but I had no idea she would be on the same flight as me. And when I saw the cane go past as Molly was boarding, I just went, Molly Burke. And she went, somebody knows me. We must talk when we get off. And it's seizing those opportunities. So fortunately, it takes a long time for the luggage to get off the planes at Hervey Bay. Point to note for
Plenty of
anybody that
time to
travels
chinwag,
here.
yeah.
We had such a great conversation. And that's when Molly explained some of the things that she was doing while she was here in Australia, including the inaugural Accessible Beauty Summit in Sydney. Boundless Beauty Summit, which was held by guide dogs. And I thought, wow, that's fabulous. I know an incredible ophthalmologist who creates beauty, Jackie Belts from Okio. I might reach out and see if she's going to go. Jackie wasn't going herself, but she said I could get you a ticket. So things just for me, I find naturally evolve when you're doing what you love.
Yeah, good point, good point. And walking away from that interaction, what do you think Molly learnt from you?
Molly actually on her YouTube video, I had to laugh. So she's made several YouTube videos in relation to her visit to Australia, and it's really fabulous seeing it from, somebody else's perspective as well. And at the end of it, she actually says, I think she shows a picture of me. I think that when I met Jo at the airport, she's actually my Australian sister because she loves pink. We both had pink luggage. We both had our Amputech no jab cane, which I think is one of the most favorite canes in the world. I know Matt Formston has one as well. And we were both short and we were both passionate about advocacy work and beauty. And I just had to giggle when she said that. It was just fabulous, and yeah, it was a real delight to meet both her and her partner, who is equally lovely.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I'm going to get a bit real with our audience for a minute here. So, as you're the point of reference for your not-for-profit, and as you said, you do have a fantastic team behind you. You're going to get around. You're going to get around Australia. I have no doubt, and you're going to become a very a welcoming face for disability inclusion. I've got that feeling, but. Is there a pressure associated with that as well? Like often when I'm speaking to people, they'll get asked in the shops. They'll have kids come up to them and go, "Oh, what's that you're using? What's that? What's the stick? Or what's the cane?"
Yeah, the
And I've
stick.
found, people out in, when you are using the cane, you may or may not want that attention or not, as you said. But usually I would say there's a bit of a responsibility too for you to not
Mm,
make that a negative experience. So if you need help in the future, somebody will come and ask you, and not fear,
mm,
retribution.
mm.
Um, do you feel like there is a bit of a pressure associated with being the face of your movement here?
I don't feel the pressure so much. I feel that the attention is a reality. And I'm just in the process for applying for a guide dog. And that is one of the things that was discussed. It's quite a lengthy process, lots of questions. But would you be comfortable if people came up and asked about the dog? I actually get people asking me all the time about the cane. In fact, just recently, I had somebody running after me as I was leaving the post office, and it was a couple in probably their 70s. And the woman asked me, "You look so confident walking around with your cane. What are your recommendations, etc.?" Because my daughter in law has just been diagnosed with low vision. I am absolutely happy to talk to anybody. I think if you're going to undertake advocacy work or put yourself in a position like this, you need to be comfortable and approachable. And once again, I thank my background for helping me find this comfortability in my life as well. Because through teaching, I was always, whenever I would go out in the public, there'd be a student that would see you there and like, "Hey, Jo, how are you?" So I was kind of used to being recognized. And the same if you do lots of events and expos as well. So um, not really feeling the pressure, but I know it is a reality, and that's okay.
Yeah, and look, and touching on that with other industries, and from hospitality as well. We both have a bit of a background in hospitality, so the the old saying, if you've had a positive experience, you'll tell one person, but you'll tell three people if you have a negative one. On
Yeah.
average, a lot of the trip advisors will tell you that sort of thing. Do you? Do you feel like if there are negative experiences coming up that you're the sort of person that would learn from those, or you feel like that might be something that you've got some learning to do on that front?
I think we, I think in life, we always come across, it's like life is the yin and yang. There's always positives and negatives. And that's okay. I think it's really important to listen to what people have to say. As I said earlier, you put yourself in their shoes. So I'm quite prepared for some resistance, or even in the low vision and blind community, we all handle this experience very differently.
Yeah.
And I am very mindful of that. And that's why gently, gently is the approach, and listen to what people have to say, because learning is lifelong. we never stop learning. And I think for your own growth and development, it's something that, we need to consider highly.
So if I was to ask you the question, well, with the beauty of hindsight here, what's something earlier on in life, what's a tool that you have now or some advice that you would have now for your younger self going through, learning as you did?
Mm. If I go with the tool that I have, I am so thankful that my childhood was very positive because I've carried that through my experience. And yes, I have some low days, but like many people in the low vision and blind community, when you're on that constant roller coaster, you learn to pull yourself out quickly. So over the years, I've built almost a wellness toolkit, and I catch myself within 1 or 2 days and say, okay, I need to actually get back on board and start living again. And I utilize, those items from my toolkit, which includes mindfulness, meditation, and definitely exercise. I've always found exercise invaluable.
So what advice could you provide others looking at a similar career trajectory to you at the moment?
Go for it. If this is what you're feeling, what you're believing, what you're passionate about, do it. But as I said earlier, make sure you do the research. Talk to your community. It's really important that you are informed. But definitely go for it. I wish I had of earlier, because I was thinking for almost 10 years prior to actually leaving my career about all the things that I could do and wanted to do. I wish I had of, I'm just in the middle of finalizing my YouTube page and website. I wish I had have done that so much earlier, because there is so much to share, and you might not connect to everybody, but you'll connect to the people that need to hear you and want to hear you. So do it.
I'm going to quote a bit of a surfing legend that I've come into contact with, not Matt in this particular instance, but um, she said, "Be mindful of the scarcity complex. Only say yes to things that you're 100% on board with. That way, you don't half do things that you're not really sold on." Would you agree with that advice?
100%. Absolutely. I think it's so important to believe in what you're doing and that it feels right. You need to really listen to yourself because our bodies talk. And yeah, totally agree in that. It's also about managing what you're doing. Because if you take on too many things at once, you can't do anything well. And that was definitely one of the pressures I used to feel in the workplace, is more and more over the years, you were given more and more different jobs to do. And it was disheartening because you didn't feel that you had the time or the opportunity or perhaps the resources to do anything well.
Yeah, yeah. Good point. Good point. So we're getting to the last 5 minutes of our webinar here. So any of your last minute questions, guys, now's the time. Chuck them in there so I can obviously direct them towards our guest before we finish up in 5 minutes. We've got just a message here from Kathy saying, "Joe, it's great to hear you talk, really doing what you love. I also work in community work with a local council." So
Fantastic. Way to go, Kathy.
more people in the decision makers area. Um,
Excellent.
and look, I guess what I'd like to touch on as well is that, the work that you do often provides a bit of a platform for others as well.
Mm.
Uh, do you realize that you are doing that, or is that something that's kind of, once again, just kind of happened along the way without you kind of realizing too much?
No, I think I'm aware. I try to be as mindful as I can of what I'm doing and influencing people positively as well. So yeah, no, I know it. And this is a journey I want to share with others. I think together we can really make a difference. It's all about community.
Yeah, good point, good point. So I guess at this particular point in time, this is always a bit of a loaded question because you may or may not be able to speak about everything that you've got coming up. But can you tell us a little bit about what you do have coming up in the next 12 months or so and how
Mm,
we might be able to follow you on that journey? I keep
yeah,
using the word journey, but I'm looking for another word, but I can't find one. But we all get the gist.
I always say the word journey. I used to say that to my English language students. They were here in Australia on this incredible journey.
Yeah.
Let's do it together. Um, so for me, I've got many things coming up. So with Live Well with Vision Loss, I have first of all this particular book. I actually won in a competition with Vision Australia. It is autographed by Matt Formston. I am looking for somewhere on the Fraser Coast for this to live, where it's going to be valued. So that's one of my upcoming activities is to reach out to the community and see what they think. I also have Eclipse Dinner in the Dark, the blindfolded dinner. That's on July 25th. And we'll have an auction. And this is going to be incredible. A time at the vineyard. Can't wait for it. It's a great chance to dress up and have a bit of fun with people. And who cares if you spill stuff on you? Nobody can see anyway. Um, I'm hoping that I can do something with the International Day for people with a disability on December 3rd. So that's something I'm definitely pursuing. I'd love to do a disability fashion parade. Anybody out there, if you've got some ideas, I think it would be just incredible to create some awareness through that, and also for the people participating, whether you're in a wheelchair, you have low vision, etc., to make them feel super special and wonderful as well. You know, that really excites me. That's definitely on the agenda. I've started mentoring people with vision loss. I think giving back is really what this is all about. That's very important. And selling my low vision and blindness clothes, which are all about safety and awareness. So if I'm out shopping, I've got my cane and in the future, hopefully a guide dog. But if I'm going to go trekking again, and I love trekking, definitely got New Zealand in mind. I would like to wear my low vision and blindness gear, which is hats and vests and t-shirts and the badges, etc. So all of that is going to be available to everybody soon. I'm just finalizing my YouTube page and my website, and those should be launched. And how you'll find out about those is through Live Well with Vision Loss on Instagram or Facebook, whichever one you utilize. You'll hear all of these launches coming up there.
Amazing. And if people wish to sort of get in contact with yourself, is that the best means to get in contact with you as well? Or
Yeah.
do you have a website with a contact section or something like that?
The website will definitely have a contact section. In the interim, everybody's getting hold of me through Messenger, through Facebook, or on Instagram, just messaging me there. So please reach out. I'd love to connect with more people experiencing vision loss and support families as well who have somebody who is experiencing this.
Well, I'll end with a statement. So thank you so much for your time, Joe. It's been a fantastic hour. I think a lot of people have really gained a lot out of this presentation. Christy has said, thank you for a wonderful presentation. Keep up all your great work.
Thank you.
So yeah, as you said, it's all about community, and I think you're doing a great job at building that community. And it's been an absolute privilege to talk to you for the last hour.
Thank you so much, Jordan, and Christy, and to everybody that asked questions as well. I really appreciate that because that's what this is all about. Hope to hear from you soon, Christy. Definitely want to go trekking in Tasmania. Great cheese and wine there too. But thank you so much, Jordan, and to Vision Australia. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Perfect. Okay. Well, we will be kicking off our next webinar at 9 a.m. Next Tuesday. Be joined by Carolyn Casey,
Wow.
Global CEO. Fantastic to have the opportunity to chat to her. But once again, a huge, huge thank you to Joe for spending the last hour with us and telling us a lot about what she's doing out in the world, which is just fantastic. So I'll end the webinar there. Thank you all, and I will
Thank you,
see you next
everyone.
week.